All right, welcome in, everybody. We're now in episode 3 of the Bridge Street podcast. Somehow we made it. I think I'm going to say this every week we do this because that's really the goal here is to be consistent, have something you can listen to every week. Make sure you check out last week's episode. We have the Carter 6 review, the Lil Tecca Dopamine review, and we also have a top 10 R&B albums of the 2010s fantasy draft. So go make sure you check that out. It's really good content. It's a great listen. I mean, even some controversial debate in there. Solid listen, and make sure we're mostly on YouTube right now. So if you can subscribe to the YouTube, interact with the video, anything at all helps. We do this as, part of, it's one of the highlights of my week every time we record this. And it's really just something that we want to build, and we're happy to anybody that supports us. And I appreciate it all the support we get. But yeah, getting into it, new podcast this week. We actually had a little segment last week where I inadvertently had brought up Drake's verse on the Smiley album. A week later, how are we feeling about that, Trashley?
Dude, you weren't lying. It's peak. It's good.
Dude, it's fine.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Drake and the pseudo Toronto accent he's doing, the whole verse, but it hits.
And the thing too is I hate this whole Drake is washing. It's
no, dude, he's not. It's stupid.
He still got it. It's just a lot of the time, it's just those little tweaks in creative direction it needs to make it because the bars are so. That shit was so good. I could listen to that over and over again. I've just been ripping it all week.
Yeah, dude, Smiley's gonna be on your top 5 at the end of the year. And you're gonna have to defend that one.
I'm not. I mean, maybe that song. When we do a top 10, we'll do a top 10 songs of the year list.
Ooh. That's fun.
And that'll be a list. I don't think we'll do a draft for that one. We'll just do I list my 10, you list your 10. If we have overlap, we talk about them at the same time.
Sure.
But that could be on my top 10 songs. But I mean, even the Smiley verse in that song is it's a tough listen. But the Drake part is so fire. Just cut off Smiley where you can.
It's like the other Smiley song with Drake on it. It's the exact same thing. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. It's interesting, those Drake artists, when you get the Drake feature, this is fire. But yeah, it was something worth looking at. Now we got new releases this week. It was kind of a blank week. There were some small releases here and there, nothing really industry shattering that we wanted to talk about. But there was this new single, Offset and JID, Bodies. And it's got some sort of, that let the bodies hit the floor sample, that 2000 song. So I listened to it. I listened to it a couple times, and I was just very unimpressed. And even for JID, who I like, especially as a lyricist, I wasn't impressed. And this isn't something I'm going to be adding to my playlist. Not that it's terrible, but I was just kind of, I was indifferent about it.
I think we talked about this earlier, but it's the epidemic of the early 2000s sampling, and how it's becoming a lot more common. And at this point, I kind of feel it's a little overdone, especially when the song isn't super strong. I agree with you. I thought this was fine. I thought JID was actually pretty decent.
And I'm not even saying the JID verse is bad. I'm just saying for his standards, it's not because he's when he hops on a track, I'm holding him to his own standard and kind of what he's done in the past and what he can do, and I just wasn't really the most.
It's just I mean it just I wasn't super impressed by it. I was just it was fine. Like you said, nothing really terrible, but really nothing to super write home about.
Exactly, and I think how short this segment will kind of sum up on how indifferent we are. Because if I hated this, I could go on a 10-minute rant about how much I dislike this song. And if I loved it, I could go on a 10-minute rant about how I love the song. But it was just kind of mid to me. And in terms of singles, it was probably the most name. It had the strongest name value in terms of the artist on it this week, and just kind of what we were listening to.
Yeah.
But it was
This this week
mid.
was pretty quiet, all things considered. Like from what
Hmm.
I've noticed, there wasn't anything that really like jumped out to me like, hey, we really need to talk about this. And even like listening to it, it's just like, there's just not really much to go off of, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's exactly how I was feeling. But you were able to look at something else you threw in the doc here.
Yes. Yeah.
What are your
Yeah.
kind of thoughts, and introduce the single for us?
Yeah. So this is again, sorry, last week. This is a last week single that came out because again, there wasn't really super like a lot to go off of this week. This is a new Kevin Abstract, former frontman of Brockhampton. I will self-report. I'm a Brockhampton enjoyer. Self-report. Shoot me down. Put me on the firing squad. I don't give a shit. So he's been doing the rollout for this new album, Blush, is coming out June 20. Oh, June, like this week. This week. It's coming out this week. Holy shit. I didn't even realize what day it was. And he released this new single with Dominic Fike. I really like all the Kevin Abstract solo albums. Like, I think American Boyfriend is phenomenal. Arizona Baby, I thought was a little bit worse. And then Blanket, which is the most recent one, is also like honestly not that big of a fan. But this one I'm pretty excited. They got a lot of good features. Like again, he's got Dominic Fike on this song, and I personally thought this song was okay. Like not the strongest Kevin Abstract product I've ever heard, but it was fine. But he's got a lot of features on this album. He's got like Danny Brown, JPEG Mafia, and a bunch of other old Brockhampton guys too. Like Amir Van is gonna be a feature on the album. Like if you know, like that's kind of crazy because he got kicked out of Brockhampton. But
Yeah, there was what allegations over there,
yeah,
or I
yeah,
don't know.
pretty serious, like damning, like sexual assault allegations, which is like it's
Yeah,
not my like place to talk about, but it's still kind of an interesting like stance, especially like okay, let me like dork out for like 2 seconds here.
yeah, go for it.
Like yeah, it's just like going back, they had like a whole like album basically like done and ready with him on it. But when the allegations came out, they basically scrapped most of it and then re-recorded like a new album in like a couple months, and they only delayed their original album's release date by like a month or two. Like the original album was supposed to be coming out in like early summer, and then the new one they re-recorded came out in September. So like I don't know. It's sort of like interesting for me for him to be going back to like Amir Van after the group seemed to pretty much scrub him from like everything. So I don't know, but I'm pretty excited for this album. I'm sure I'll like go on another tangent when it comes out, but yeah. But like this single, like I said, uh, again, I didn't super impress me. Like I thought it was okay. Like I expected a little bit more, to be honest with you, but uh, yeah, I'm more so looking forward to the full project once it's out.
And I think it's interesting too, especially when you have these group dynamics and how things kind of fall out. Really, no matter what the situation may be. I wish I was still so tuned into music like I used to be, because I listened to this song because you threw it in the doc, and I was like, okay, I've listened to Brockhampton projects. I can't speak on it on a level where I'm an expert.
Mm-hmm.
But I went back and I'm like, oh, I saw Dominic Fike on the song, and I'm like, you know what? I know Dominic Fike's discography relatively well. I'm pretty updated on it. And I look back and I'm like, oh, the most recent album I enjoyed was What Could Possibly Go Wrong, and I listened to that front to back, and I played that a ton. I go back and I look. That released in 2020, and he's dropped like 3 albums since.
Really?
And yeah, yeah, and I'm like, wow, I have tuned out kind of to that scene, and like
Yeah.
really in pretty much everything in general, just because there's a lot of, life happens, and I wasn't following the stuff as seriously as I was, say in the 2010s.
Yeah.
But Dominic Fike is always a great listen, and I enjoyed the single, and I'm not caught up to what the expectations should be for Brockhampton, Kevin Abstract, or even Dominic Fike, but I enjoyed the song like relatively. Like I'd give it a good rating. I'd throw it in my playlist.
Mhm.
But obviously, you're probably a little bit more qualified to speak on that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, again, I wasn't like the super biggest fan of like the last Kevin Abstract album, but this one seems to come with like there's a lot more build up than the other ones, or at least in recent memory. There's a lot more build up. There's a lot more like notable like big name features, which isn't usually like a thing you see like super prominently with Kevin Abstract. So it feels like there's a lot of like effort being put into something here. And so I'm kind of expecting when this album does come out, I'm expecting a more polished, like, I'm expecting a pretty good product here, you know. Just like I think the semi Brockhampton reunion, whatever, with Amir Van and Kevin Abstract will heal like a little part of my soul from like
Yeah,
15-year-old me or whatever.
yeah. Very excited to check out that album. Obviously, we'll review it. I mean, what in this next coming week because it'll drop Friday.
Yeah, it's literally like let me confirm. Yeah, it's literally I think it's like this Thursday or Friday.
Absolutely, and I think too, something we really want to get into. We got this new segment. We're going to be talking about sales and Billboard charts.
Mhm.
I think it's really important because I think the nuance of the sales discussion gets really mislabeled in the public.
Yeah.
They'll see top artists, whether it be like, say, like a Tyler or a Cardi who are in that 300 to 500 range,
Mhm.
and they'll see somebody doing 30, 50, 60, anything under 100, and they'll call it a flop.
Yeah.
But what really matters about sales is the trajectory of a career.
Mhm.
Obviously, an album will sell off of the previous album. So if you're looking at a current project based on what the last album did, and we saw that, I like to say, with even like Eternal, A Take Two, or The
Mhm.
Big Day with Chance the Rapper, where there can be a lesser project, but it will still do numbers because of the last album.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for people to see when we talk about sales is A, if you're having a consistent track record of putting something up, say in the 5 to 10K range of where you last sold,
Mhm.
you have a solid base of fans that will listen every time it comes out.
Yeah.
And that's where we bring in Lil Tecca's project. Obviously, we reviewed it last week. We both thought it was solid, and I think we would find most Tecca projects to be in that same range of being a solid to good project.
Mhm.
And we saw his numbers come out. I've seen 48 to 50,000. And funnily enough, last week we had recorded it before any projections had come out because we recorded it last Tuesday. And I said 50K, and I was essentially spot
Yeah, that was
on.
kind of insane to see in real time. I can't lie. That like kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Dude, I literally had sent you I sent you the projections maybe like 4 or 5 hours after we hopped
Yeah.
off, and I'm like, because I have a good sense of where somebody's gonna land,
Yeah.
um, in terms of sales. But Lil Tecca does 48 to 50K is what the numbers are coming out around, and you
Mhm.
had Dark Thoughts which peaked at 48, so you didn't have a single that was carrying this like a Ransom,
Mhm.
which peaked in the top five. But what
Yeah.
I like to look at is the past albums that he had with we had I know Tech debuted at number 11. You had We Love You Tech debuted at number 4, and Dopamine actually debuted at number 3. And you can put this to a calculated time releasing,
Mhm.
or based on where the market is. But I think seeing a 50K number for Tekka, and all of his past 4 albums have been within that 40 to 50,000 range. It's
Yeah.
impressive because
Yeah.
we're not in 2019 where you can bundle anything anymore. We're not
Mhm.
in that 2017 to 2019 era where there were bundles and ticket sale bundles, and really the only thing you can bundle now is merch, digital downloads, and vinyls. So I
Yeah.
think seeing 50K for Tekka shows that on this next project we can expect something similar, barring a catastrophic change or a massive lead single. And I think what we can take away from this sales segment, the chart segment each time, is the trajectory of someone's career. And
Yeah.
I think with Tekka, we can say his career is growing and
Mhm.
even staying stable and selling a similar amount will keep him consistent, and even if he plateaus and you stay consistent at that 40 to 50K range, I still think you're on the rise.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, very well said. Like you're definitely more well versed in like the whole sales and numbers aspect than I am. But like it is sort of an interesting like discourse of people that are like Tekka only did 50K, holy flop. You know what I mean? It's just like it's frustrating because that's a lot. That is a lot of sales. And like you said, you see that like growth there with Tekka. He just keeps climbing and climbing up the chart, showing that more and more people like are going to listen.
And I think it's also there's a context that's missing to people in terms of like, okay, current day Billboard has really, really cracked down on bundles, and
Hmm.
people will compare stuff to albums that were sold 5, 7, 8 years ago. You can't do that. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you even look at like a Nav who had sold, well, he sold over 100K with one of his last albums, and it's because he had a V-Loan bundle. Like, I think it was 2 or 3 albums ago. He's selling over
Yeah.
100K because he has a V-Loan bundle. And a lot
Yeah.
of times people miss this, I mean, kind of the manipulating of the numbers, or they
Hmm.
miss really how that stuff works, and they can say, oh, this is a flop, this isn't good. And it's a huge part because it matters what the public thinks about an artist if they're growing or not, because why would I want to listen to an artist who's going to be irrelevant next year when he goes to drop the next album?
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting to look at.
Yeah. I haven't really like seen that sort of like argument though of like why would I listen to like this though with like Tekka though? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't seen a lot of that, which is like again, it just shows like showing like pretty decent numbers and saying someone's fallen off is stupid as hell. But like yeah, I don't really see that kind of conversation happening for Tekka. I'm really interested to see what happens during when the next project comes out. Like if
Mm-hmm.
we see like a bigger jump or a bigger leap, you know?
And I think he needs a hit single to do it. I think he
Yeah.
needs, and the thing too is, it's important to realize how much a single has matured for an album. So, Dark Thoughts is the first single, which released about 2 months ago. So you get those first 2 months of that single sales in gets included in the first week album sales.
Mhm.
So say he has a top. I don't know if Tega could do a top 5 hit like a Ransom, because obviously you had like that's peak SoundCloud era. That's with a Juice World remix, and
Yeah.
a Lyrical Lemonade video at Lyrical Lemonade's peak. So that was kind of the perfect storm of
Yeah.
getting Lil Tecca into the top 5. And Dark Thoughts is was at 48, and that's the highest peaking single he's had since Ransom, and 500 Pounds was outside the top 50.
That's crazy.
So
That's crazy to me. That's kind of crazy.
so what he would need is a top 20 single that sits there for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Or he has to manipulate some stuff with digital downloads to get. I mean, for him to get above 60K, he would need a top single. He would need a top 20 single that has about 4 months to mature, and he would need to nail the bundles or pre-press vinyls for first week to get those included in the sales. But then the album's gonna leak. So I think it's gonna be tough for Tekka to get to 60K, but it's possible. He just needs to have a hit single.
Yeah. Just everything kind of needs a he kind of needs that perfect storm again.
Right. So if he can get a top 20 single and releases the single at the right time and possibly has like one of the biggest, like he has the right feature on there, it could work. But we got the next topic. We got a this is something that came out this morning.
Yeah.
The what used to be a historic kind of like a monumental moment every year, and something that people would debate about this for when you maybe 6 months before it even happened.
Yeah.
Something that used to be a landmark thing in hip hop is the XXL Freshman Class, and that's clearly not the case anymore. It's kind of gone very downhill. And I just remember like when people would highly anticipate the cover, the ciphers, and the freestyles, and it's just unfortunately not the case anymore.
Yeah, I think it's like a I don't know when that kind of paradigm shift happened with, you know, the whole XXL Freshman Class thing, but like, I don't know when it happened. I maybe like after COVID is like, I'm just trying to think like of when I stopped caring, because I feel like that's also kind of when the general populace maybe stopped caring as well. But I just feel like every year it kind of like pops up in my feed as like a thing that happened, and I'm just like, I always have a moment of like, I don't know who any of these people are.
And I think it has to do with two major things why we've seen the decline of the XXL freshman list. One is the decline of physical media and magazine media to start with. When you see the original classes and kind of some of the names on here, the first class is 2007. And then you have some big names, Boosie, Papoose, who had a reality show at the time, like Plies, like big rappers, big hits. 2009, B.O.B., Kid Cudi, Wale, who was huge at the time. And then 2010, you have J. Cole, Nipsey Hussle, Freddie Gibbs, Wiz Khalifa, Big Sean, OJ the Juice Man, J Rock. So it's like you have these huge classes and these people who had songs all over the radio all the time. And when you start to see the decline of physical media, you really start to see stuff go downhill. But also 2016, 2017, 2018, those are all classic, ciphers, freestyles, magazine covers. But I agree, once you hit COVID, it kind of went downhill. And I think even 2020 is a solid class, 2021 is a solid class. I know most of these people, but it just didn't seem to be worth it for these artists to do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of sad too because I feel like it used to be like a huge thing for artists too. Like it was like a major like way to kind of like actually like give yourself kind of a leg up, like really get your name out there for. And it was kind of a symbol of like, oh, like people know who I am. Like I'm kind of like taking the next leap, sort of thing, you know. And
Mm,
I don't know, or they're just like maybe like yeah, maybe it's the case of like you said, like they're just not interested in doing it as much as they were back then, or they're people are just like whoever's like picking these artists is just like they just don't know what they're doing anymore, or they just lost that ability, which I doubt.
I think they have less interest in doing it strictly because of like it's not what it used to be.
Yeah,
I mean, 16 and 17, 16, 17, 18. You just like, and I think too, they like, especially 16, they
hmm,
got these people at the perfect time to where these people were not known by the mass consumer audience. But if
yeah,
like, but everybody who was like in middle school and high school at that time was like obsessed with SoundCloud. Like,
yeah,
that's where you would listen to the majority of your music was SoundCloud. And then 16, you get Uzi, Yachty, Kodak, 21, Dave East, Anderson Paak, Denzel Curry.
yeah, yeah,
These are all guys who can still sell. These are guys who can sell 100K plus. I mean,
yeah,
are at their peak sold 100K plus.
yeah.
So you had a commercial force, and then even 17, you have A Boogie, PNB Rock, Cardi, Amine, X, and I think X in himself was a commercial force that no one could really mess with.
Yeah. It's yeah, I think another thing you kind of like sort of mentioned was just like the staying power. Like a lot of these guys have like staying power like nearly a decade later. And when you look at this like current list like today, it's like do you really see like Leangelo Ball selling like 100K in 10 years? No. You know what I mean? Do you really see Ian like selling out stadiums in the long haul? I don't. You know what I mean? It's like I just
Mm,
don't see I don't think there's that staying power anymore. Maybe that's like more of a meta commentary on like what like society is now of like, it's just whatever the next big thing is. But
hmm
yeah, it's just like you look at some of these names, it's like I just don't see the staying power that there
Yeah.
used to be.
So with that, I'll actually list the names here. We have Jello, formerly known as Leangelo Ball,
Oh my God. Notorious.
Laserdym, Ray Vaughn, Samarison, Nino Pade, 1900 Rugrat, YTB Fat, Baby Chief Do It, Ian, and Eam Triplet. Um, I think we could probably go through these kind of one by one. I mean, Leangelo Ball, he's 26. He's got 4 songs on Spotify. Um, but he'll sell the media. He'll sell the magazine. I understand
Yeah,
why he'd do it, but
yeah. It again, it's just like you're. I mean, you got it. I think it's just again another just like a face for the name. It's just like a put eyes on the magazine sort of selection. You know, I
mhm.
mean, like it's not like he's like released an album or two and he's like on the come up and you know. I mean, it's just LeAngelo Ball and he's like a rapper now. You know.
Mhm. Um, then Laserdym, I'm not really familiar with, but he has a loyal following.
Hmm.
Um, he does sell tickets, and he like this is where we start to show our age. But I know he's popping like that. Like it's not a
Yeah.
terrible pick. Um, Ray Vaughn, who was recently going back and forth with Joey Badass.
Yeah.
And he's kind of, TDE's plan to move into the future, especially with them
Hmm.
losing Kendrick. I mean, obviously, Top Dog and Kendrick will be closely related, but Ray Vaughn's kind of the future plan for TDE beyond Kendrick, SZA, and
Yeah.
and Absol and Q, kind of
Hmm.
moving forward. So I enjoyed the lyrical pick. Um, Samara Sin. It was an artist who we love. I had actually found Samara Sin like 2-3 years, like 2020. I wanted 2020 or 2021,
Hmm.
because she was local in Arizona, and I was like looking for rappers in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I found her, so that's a solid addition.
I remember that. I think I actually like remember that, like way back when in Arizona that you mentioned that. So
I was like I
that's
was like
probably crazy.
I was like, this girl sounds like Dej Loaf, can sing like Janae Aiko, and could be the next Lauryn Hill, which was like way too like.
You Loki did say something like that.
I was way too like dramatic about it,
Yeah.
but but no, I
Yeah.
was high on some arson, and she's clearly panned out, and I love her music. And we should have talked
Yes.
about the EP today. We might throw that on next week.
Yeah.
But we needed to make sure our times were all set once we had the XXL class.
Mhm.
Neo Paid. I also a name I want to sit here and say I'm familiar with, but I'm just not.
Yeah. We're just again. I think this is just like the showing our age segment. Like,
I promise you,
I,
next year I'll have such a solid hand on like all of them. Like with this
yeah.
podcast, I'm gonna be
Same.
so back in the game with music that
Yeah.
I'll know all of them, unless they're just
I'm gonna be tapped in too. What are you talking
YTB.
about headspin?
Oh no, I skipped one. 1900 Rugrat Young Cracker, is he's in this one.
Man.
Uh, I don't really. He seems solid. I don't. I mean, he's doing his thing. I respect him. I mean, it's not like something I'm putting on for like
I
anything,
mean,
but
he's
I
undercover.
respect it.
He's in the freshman class.
No, I respect him. Like it's a solid. Like his stuff isn't unlistenable, and it kind of gets catchy when you're just like sitting there and like
Yeah.
they just put on that. What was that? Like one song he has, the Chava got an AR. That one.
Yeah.
That one's solid. YTB Fat. Why do I know the name?
I also know the name. I also know the name from something.
I'm trying to think of what I know him from. I don't. I can't. Biggest songs. YTB Fat. Biggest songs. Is he? I don't. I'm looking this up. Oh, he's got a song with Bossman D-Lo. I don't know. You know what? I'm not even. I'll look next week. We'll start off the podcast on why I know YTB Fat, but it's not coming to me.
YTV Fat segment.
Yeah, yeah. Baby Chief Do It. Okay. I couldn't name you a Baby Chief Do It song, but his stuff is fire. Like he can rap. Like he can
Yeah.
rap, and he's like a drill rapper who's like, how old is he? He's a child. Um, but he can rap. He's solid. Um, I respect him. I've seen like his freestyles all over like my Instagram feed, and he can rap. And when I was at a Christmas party, and I was talking to like one of my cousins, or like one of my like like family friends, and I was like, "Yo, I'm unk right now, but like I need to know what are y'all listening to just to get a sense of like where it was at." And they're like, "Baby Chief do it," and this was like around December, so
Yeah.
I respect it. And then obviously, Ian, which is he's big. He can pull tickets. He can sell hard tickets.
Yeah.
So like you gotta respect it. I thought he would probably be on this last year, but here he is. And
Yeah.
then Ian Triplin, who just did a countrywide tour with DC the Dawn, and he can sell. I mean, he's kind of like his biggest song is what Awkward Freestyle, and that released in 2022, so a little bit late on that.
Yeah.
So that's the list we got. What's your biggest takeaway?
I mean, like I said, I mean, like I feel like it's just like I think there's just a lack of like staying power. I think it's part of the factor too is this is not like stuff like we're not like the youth anymore. Like this is not the stuff like we're listening to. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we can't. So it's hard for us to like really be like, oh, here's like a clear like reason like why they were picked aside from like a couple, but like I just don't really see like the staying power anymore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that I think is my biggest takeaway.
I think that's a huge takeaway, and I think that's 100% accurate. I have
Mhm.
two big takeaways.
Yeah,
One, I'm old as fuck.
true.
Two, if I'm XXL, I give Plaque Max the biggest bag in the world to be on.
Dude,
He
wait
turned
a
it down.
minute.
He turned it down. But if you have Black Boy Max is like, and I'm not even super familiar with his content, but he's a commercial force. Like, look at the
Yeah,
rappers he's having on his stuff. You get Black Boy Max on this. He does a vlog. He does a stream there.
yeah,
This is selling twice. You pay this guy. You pay him hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this because you're already dropping millions on producing this cover.
mhm,
You pay Black Boy Max whatever it takes to get on this.
yeah. He's like the
And
biggest promoter right now for like and like sort of
mhm,
like the under underground-ish scene, as I like to
right.
call it. Like, yeah, if they could get him, that would be like that's how you get the eyes. Like that's the
Mhm.
people want to see.
Yeah, I think it's also a different game if he had signed before they had selected the list.
Hmm.
I think there's probably a little bit more pressure for him to do it, but I think that is the main takeaway in itself. Is like if you're XXL, you need Plaque Boy Max on this, and if you have Plaque Boy Max, this is say you take off say Nino Paid, YTB Fat, 1900 Rugrat, and you put Plaque Boy Max in the spot. You're upping your views, your interactions, your engagement by a million. And
Exactly.
I think you dropped the bag on Max to get him on this.
Yeah, that's a really good takeaway. I 100% agree with you. I think that's like easily the best decision they could have made. I wasn't even like thinking, honestly, about like Clockwork Max when this like just reading this whole thing again. It literally came out today, so I don't have like a
Mm-hmm.
ton of time to formulate a ton of opinions. But yeah, I'm sort of I know like you said he turned it down, but like I it at least kind of shows that they're aware.
Mm-hmm.
At least they tried. But
Well, I think
I
they're
think
taking anything they can get.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
so,
like
but
Leandro.
like LiAngelo Ball, we might. What if Lavar starts rapping? There's a chance we get him.
They should have
We get
thrown Lavar on the cover. That would have done numbers.
dude. One more.
I'm also not calling him Jello either, and you can't pay me.
Yeah,
No
that's
amount of money.
LiAngelo Ball. I'm
I'm
not
calling him
calling him.
Leandro Bell until I die. Sorry.
I call it. Well, I could would have called him Jello back in 2016 when he was like popping, but now it's like
And I was.
26.
And I was doing
And,
that.
oh yeah, yeah. I miss those days. I miss when we were young and Chino Hills 2016 team.
Hills, they be modern day.
Crazy. And then they're like dapping each other up on the court, like in the middle, like someone's on a fast break and they're just like doing handshakes. With, like there's like three future NBA players on the floor at once.
LaMelo Ball. 13 years old pulling up from half court. Like, what was that? What the fuck was that?
Like, and as a quick sidebar too, I remember the day that highlight dropped of LaMelo Ball pointing at half court off the tip and
Oh my
chucking it.
god!
Dude, I would go into like gym class and I would just see kids just walk in and start chucking it. They'd do the point to half court and boom. I was what, like that's like the end of 8th grade for us.
That's freshman year. That's freshman year
It's
because like LaMelo was in 8th grade. Yeah,
I think it was like
it's
2016 or 17. Yeah, so that's
Literally,
like the end of 8th grade. Yeah.
literally, I remember it's like basketball practice for the next year were like the worst shit ever. It was so stupid. Just kids pointing at the ground and throwing up half court shots. God.
It was what a time to be alive.
Amen.
All right. Well, this is my favorite segment, our new segment we added last week. Good old fantasy draft. Make sure you check out last week's top 10 R&B albums of the 2010s. Some good debate, some good content on there. This week we've decided to do top 10 features of 2016. All right. So our recording just crashed, so I'm gonna go quickly over the rules again. If I pick a song, a feature from it, say it's Ian featuring YB and Namir. Jacob cannot go and pick YB and Namir, but he could go and pick Ian. So the original artist on it is totally irrelevant. You can only pick one feature from that artist for the whole draft. Like I said, if I pick the YB and Namir feature, Jacob cannot pick a feature from YB and Namir further on the list. And then also, we are competing based off the quality of the feature, not the song. So you can say song A is better than song B, but if song B has a better feature than song A, song B is the winner. Eventually, we're going to put out we'll send out a poll for this to kind of grade who's winning, but that would be about 6 people voting at this current stage. So right now, we're deciding it, and until we have a big enough audience, we'll keep deciding that. So I'm up 1-0 as we head into the top 5 features of 2016 draft. And you know the deal. So 1 is heads, 2 is tails. What are you going to take?
Tails never fails.
All right. And if this ever loads. All right. We're running it now. It was heads.
All right. Are you gonna defer or are you gonna receive the ball?
I'm gonna receive the ball.
Okay. All right.
Initial pick, and I assume this was gonna be your number 1 as well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going No More Parties in LA, Kanye featuring Kendrick Lamar.
Fuck you.
This is really the best, and I could be wrong, but this to me is the best lyrical feature of the year, and there's really nothing else that really competes in the lyrical field this year in terms of like the best features. I don't know what you're gonna pick down the line, but that was kind of my feeling on this song, and it's also one of the best Kendrick verses of all time.
That's a great pick. You just picked top 10 Kanye. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to say? Like, good job, man. All right, so I got the next 2. Mm-hmm. So I told you beforehand I'm gonna throw some grenades. I'm gonna get some stuff I can go at bat for. I'm gonna go with Lil Yachty on Broccoli.
That was my number 2.
That was my number 2?
Yeah.
I think it's literally like one of the most like iconic verses like ever. Literally.
Was this your like one that you thought I was gonna lose my shit on?
Yeah. I don't know why. No. I thought you'd be like a little more like pretentious with it. But like I literally like play that song anywhere and everybody's singing all of Lil Yachty's verse.
Dude.
Plus the stuff they shouldn't say.
Dude, I had that as number 1 until I realized that Life of Pablo was 2016.
Yeah.
I think that's like I think that's the number two pick. Like
I
I fully agree with that one.
It's crazy because um if I got the number one pick, I might have also done that too. I also might have picked broccoli number one.
I it's interesting for us to see because I think too with this category, it's a lot more research based than like the albums one because it's also just like figuring out whether a song was released in 2016 or not. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think Broccoli is like one of the greatest party songs of all time, and I think
It's
that would have been my number two. That would have been that was my number two pick as well.
it's yeah, it's so iconic. It's just yeah, there's just no words. All right. For my next pick. All right. I'm going to take an interesting approach here. I'm going to go Two Chain's verse specifically on No Problem by Chance the Rapper.
Ooh,
I'm going to go with the Two Chain's feature specifically.
over the Lil Wayne feature.
Yes. I just think the Lil Wayne feature is like I was having a really hard time with this actually. I was having a really hard time with myself. Last night I was like in my head. I just think it's better. Like I just whenever I hear the Two Chains verse, I genuinely think I just have way better of a time, and I just think it's stronger. It gets me more amped up, like the song's
Hmm.
supposed to do. But yeah, that's gonna be my pick there.
So I didn't have this on my list. If I and I didn't really like. I love the No Problem record, but I just like, and I think the Lil Wayne feature I definitely would have thought about picking, and I don't think it's a bad pick by any means. But for Two Chains features, I personally would have went with Money Maybe Do It.
Hmm.
Um, because I think I enjoy that Two Chains. You know that they're pretty equal.
Yeah.
Um, but that's probably what I would have went with if I were going for a Two Chains
I mean,
verse.
yeah, you raise a good point there. Yeah, for sure. But like when I think 2016, I think of Chance the Rapper. I think of peak Chance the Rapper. You know, that's sort of like the first thing that pops into my head. So that's sort of my justification.
Take your shirt off, wave it around your head like it's a helicopter.
Run shit
That's
like diarrhea, bro. What? Run shit like diarrhea. Come on. No,
that's a
this isn't
classic.
even close, bro. I don't even fight me,
Okay,
bro.
this one. Okay, for my second pick, fourth overall. This is kind of a digging deep, and you would kind of have to do research for this. Um, I don't know if this is what I bet you. I don't think you will have this on your list, but I bet you have this artist. I have Lil Uzi's feature on "Rah Rah" by Travis Scott.
Oh, wow.
That which is like a top five Uzi verse of all time.
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
um, I think that's a undeniable pick. SoundCloud classic, SoundCloud exclusive release. Um, and taking Lil Uzi off the board is kind of a good play as well.
Yeah. That's a really strong play. That wasn't my Uzi pick, to be fair.
What was your
Uh,
Uzi pick?
my Uzi pick. My Uzi pick was gonna be Bad and Bougie, where it's not like the strongest verse, but it's the more it's like it's an iconic verse, I think, you know. It's like when you think back to 2016, this is my whole theme for this draft is just like how iconic that shit was. You know what I
Okay,
mean? Like
that's valid.
everybody was like, yeah, yeah. You know what I
it,
mean? Like I just like I think I'm doing a lot more like legacy things, like memorable.
that's it's valid. It's iconic. I think the Bad and Bougie feature though is like the quality isn't there for me to put it. I obviously saw it because I was like that song was number one for like 10 weeks. Um, so obviously I saw it and I was like definitely thinking about adding it on there. But I actually would have taken another. I would have taken Too Much Sauce. Um, the Lil
Oh
Uzi feature
fuck, I
on
forgot
that.
about that.
I would have taken that ahead of Bad and Bougie as well, but I think Rah Rah was definitely the best pick.
Think of that.
Um, this one is a classic feature. I'm going with The Weekend on Low Life.
You're an
Um,
asshole. I
yeah,
hate you so much.
I think this is a classic song. It's one of the best R&B like um, features pop, rap, collaborative songs. It's a classic song. It's iconic. Um, I think I had to pick that one.
Ooh, dude, you're making me go into my bag a little bit here. You're making me go into my bag a little bit here. Okay. Yeah, so I think for my next pick, this one was hard for me. I could have gone a couple different ways with this one. But I think, yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna go with Future on Grammys from Views. I think that's gonna be my pick.
Okay.
I mean, just again, Views. We're not gonna do the Views thing again. We're not gonna go there. I just think I could have gone. I was thinking about going X. Because I think that's a really
I was
strong.
thinking about going X as well because the outro is just so iconic.
Yeah, that was a really hard. This was a really really hard pick for me. It's just like when I think back to like when I was a kid, and like what I was kind of enjoying the most. I think I was listening to Views and I like specifically Grammys more than anything. Because like I was just anything that Drake and Future did together, like
Mhm.
I was just on that shit. So
I had X on the list. I didn't have Grammys on the list, but I see what your approach is iconic versus like
yeah.
content of the future. I didn't have Grammys on the list. I had X. I had X on the list. I don't think I would have picked it. It's a little bit further down. And I also had this is a total sleeper song. I don't know if you've ever heard it. I play the song all the time. Off the DJ Esco tape, there's a song with Young Thug and Future called Who. It's
Mhm.
it's one of my favorite songs of all time.
That's a
I
deep
probably
one.
wouldn't have picked it either because it's not that iconic,
Mhm.
but that was also another Future one I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got the seventh pick. Where are you going here?
Hmm. This one, okay, I could go two different ways with this one. I think, yeah, sure. I'll go with this one. I'll go with Quavo and Congratulations with Post Malone.
Ah,
Yes!
that was my next one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was a good one. I think having Quavo up for this long was kind of a ticking time bomb. You know what I mean? But again, like I told you, the theme of the list is iconic, and I had to kind of, I think, grab that one um, from from you because I felt in my bones that you were gonna do that. So we'll
Do
see.
you
This was
have
like when Post Malone was like a rapper too. So let's get down to
did
that.
you have any did you have Raw Raw on your list?
No, I did not.
And wait, what Uzi feature do you have?
I have. Hold on. I had Bad and Bougie.
You had Bad and Bougie. Would
Yeah.
you have taken Bad and Bougie before Congratulations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I do because Congratulations was my next pick, and I'm like, should I have put that one ahead of Raw Raw?
Mhm.
But I'm not. I'm not going to. That's a great pick. It's an iconic song, and also like in terms of Quavo versus it's elite. Like
Yeah.
it's solid. It's an iconic song too. It's a diamond. It's a diamond song.
Yeah.
I think that's a great pick. It would have been my next pick.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna go with Kanye. That part on Schoolboy Q's album. That is a legendary feature. That's a
Really
legendary
good pick.
performance
That's a really good pick.
at the Grammys. Oh, dude, I'm kind of disappointed. I only get one more. Do you want
Yeah.
to? Do we do like? You want to do like a? You want to do like a?
Uh,
We get a.
I'm gonna be honest. You're kind of like draining all of my options. So I think I got one more in me. I got one more
You
in me.
have
I
one
believe.
more. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
because if I got my options are drained, more or less. Like after that Kanye one, that kind of like put the like I can't. I don't think I could go. I don't think my bag can go much deeper.
Dude, my bag is infinitely deep here.
I know it is. I know it is. That's why I think five's the perfect amount.
Yeah, that's facts. Because if we got into quantity, I would just cook.
Yeah, and I'd be like fucking. I'd be like, okay, I got French Montana, bro. Like, what do you want?
Fuck, I should have looked at French Montana see if he had any shit because there's
I,
really good.
I was. I actually looked into. Never mind. Never mind. But you got
All
one more
right,
pick. You got one more pick.
I only got one more pick. Oh, okay, fine. I'm gonna go iconic. PNB Rock on Too Many Years.
That's a good one.
One of the greatest hooks of all time.
That's a really good
Um,
pick.
that Kodak tape is classic. The 2016 tape. And I honestly was thinking about putting the Gucci verse
Yeah.
from it on here as well.
Yeah.
But that's one of the best hooks of all time. PNB Rock, a hook god that's criminally underrated as an artist, and I will stand on that to this day. That like he's like one of the most underrated artists of our generation of all time. Like he knew how to make hits, and it's a classic. It's Kodak. It's Kodak. It's a classic Kodak song as well.
Yeah.
So,
That one was on my list. Yeah, that was on my list too. I was just trying to get like the mega hits out of the way, so I didn't take an L. That was my strategy. Like as you could tell, I went for like the iconic super hits, but I also have one more, which
Okay.
I'm really excited about because I'm kind of surprised this one sort of slipped through the cracks a little bit. I think, in my opinion, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Chance the Rapper on Ultralight Beam.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my pick.
I knew I had that one in the back of my head the whole time, but I wasn't gonna pick. I wasn't gonna pick two songs from The Life of Pablo.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like I didn't expect you to, and that's kind of why I waited to the end. I was like seeing if you were gonna do it, if you're gonna pull the trigger. But no, I think that's again. I think it's sort of like it makes me sad when I listen to it. It's like what we could have had with Chance the Rapper.
I
And it's
fully,
just like you see like everything you love about like peak Chance. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a great verse.
it's a great verse. It's a classic verse in totality. I I was so high on Chance because I had a lot of older friends when I was younger. And so when acid rap had dropped, my whole life was like changed, and these kids introduced me to a lot of the stuff I wasn't going to be listening to. So
Yeah.
when Chance the Rapper dropped Coloring Book, it was game over. Then all these kids start finding out about Chance the Rapper. You know, it was something that was like great to see.
Yeah.
And it's a classic verse, and it's also like if you listen to this is a deep cut. Have you ever heard his versions of Waves? And
Yes. Yeah, I think
there's
so.
Waves, and there's another song that he did,
He did
Famous.
famous.
Yeah.
Nice.
His versions on like the Kanye project is just like it's insane to see just the skill he had. At the
It's
time.
insane they got cut. Like I can't even believe it.
I think the same thing, but then when you're 2016 Kanye, you can do whatever you want because you're
That's
that
true.
good
That's
in
true.
itself.
That's true.
You know.
If you're
So,
to be fair, if you're 2025 Kanye, you can do whatever you want. But
oh god.
sorry,
Oh,
sorry.
God.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I know you said you had one more in the bag, just in terms of like, I don't know if you had any more on there.
No, that was the PNB Rock one was it, man. Like that was like
PNB Rock
my
one was it.
that was gonna be my like that was gonna be my one, and then like you know, I mean
All
like
right.
the options get like pretty thin when you only like have one verse like per artist, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because that really like once it's gone, it's like damn, it's like I either wanted that one or it's like you can pivot, you know what I mean?
So this is what I had left on the list, and I talked about all the ones from the artists that had been selected at the time. So I eliminated all those from the list. But ones that I had in the bag if I needed. This is a little bit of a different type. I had Lil Tracy's verse on Cobain with Lil Peep. That's one of my favorite verses ever. You did go Quavo on Congratulations, but I also would have been fine with Quavo or Young Thug on Pick Up the Phone.
Oh my, yeah, that was on my list too. But like, it was kind of vague to me. At least if that was like more of like a Travis Scott song or like a Young Thug thing, and like is the Quavo like the actual feature? Like that would have definitely, or well, I'm not gonna say like a like that.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
would
mean? But
say
like that would
I
have like
totally. I would have allowed it because it was on Birds in the Trap, and Thug never put it on a project, and Quavo never put it on a project.
yeah
So I would have allowed it. I think either of those are fine. And then you have Views in 2016, so Drake isn't like really doing a ton of features there. But I think
yeah
one you could put on there is For Free
yep.
on the DJ Khaled album. I know that's like kind of entirely a Drake song, but I would still have considered it a feature.
Mhm.
Um, and then Drake on Both with Gucci. I think
Yeah, yeah,
Gucci fresh out of prison.
yeah,
That's the four additional ones I had in my list that weren't selected. Um,
yeah.
but I'll go over the lists one more time. You had Broccoli, Lil Yachty's feature on Broccoli, Two Chains feature on No Problem, Future's feature on Grammys, Quavo's feature on Congratulations, and Chance the Rapper's feature on Ultralight Beam.
That's a list I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. I did my job. I did what I wanted.
I had Kendrick Lamar's feature on No More Parties in LA,
Oh god.
Lil Uzi's feature on Rah Rah, The Weeknd's verse on Low Life, Kanye's verse on That Part, and PMB Rock's verse on and hook on Too Many Years. I think I'd give it to you. I think I'd
Yeah,
give you the win. It's
yeah,
I think mine's probably higher quality, but I think yours is more iconic.
yeah. It's just like again, my goal. I came in this draft. My main goal was just to get the home runs. You know, just hit tanks. That was my plan. I
Yeah,
mean, like you got some fantastic songs on there. Like definitely like higher quality. But if you put that shit on like a Twitter poll, people are gonna pick. You know,
I
I
think
think
if I think
I
if
think
I
it's
was
close
going
though.
for
I think it's close. I can't even lie. Like
if I was going for iconic, I wouldn't have even. I don't think I would have taken No More Parties. I think I would have taken Ultralight Beam.
I was gonna take no more parties in LA regardless, just because again it's
I
like
just think like
Kanye would expect.
I just think Ultralight Beam is like more iconic than
Yeah.
No More Parties. Even though No More Parties in LA is better, I
Mhm.
think also like I think it hurts that there's not a classic like Rah Rah's not like I think that's like a SoundCloud era like
Yeah.
bang. But I think that I probably would have taken Congratulations there
Yeah.
instead of
That's also kind of the Quavo pick is also kind of tough because you just like think like for like super home runs you have that and like pick up the phone if you want to go that angle. But like
mm,
what? Yeah.
uh, Low Life. This is a fire playlist.
Yeah.
This is
This
a
is literally
fire playlist.
this is my for my research too. What I did is I just went into my playlist on my old Spotify account from like 2016 and
The
just like
thing
saw
is,
what I was listening to.
I was ripping like off my like local iTunes. I think in 2016, like I don't think I had Apple Music or Spotify. I was just using SoundCloud,
I didn't
and
have
then
premium. I was just trying to find ways to like hack, like get past ads, like every 30 seconds.
the struggle of being a freshman in high school and just
I
not.
didn't have premium until I was like 17 years old.
I didn't have premium until I went to college because there was this old glitch with SoundCloud where like if you had an older phone and you just kept putting it on airplane mode
Oh my god.
during and then like play your listening history, you wouldn't get ads. And then eventually you could just take it off airplane mode and have it like on data or Wi-Fi, and you would never have any ads because
I
the
remember that. I
it
remember
deemed
that
your
glitch.
app as old. So
Yeah.
like into my freshman year of college, actually no, I lost it when I broke my phone the day I met you and Remy.
Yeah.
I lost the glitched SoundCloud, and I was so depressed. I had to buy out.
That is depressing. That's actually really. I remember that SoundCloud glitch. I remember you used to be able to do like a similar thing with Spotify too, where you could turn your phone to airplane mode during an ad and it would skip the ad, I think. I
Hmm.
could be wrong, but there was a way to get past the ads, and then they patched it. And then what you could do then was you could just restart the app and then open it again. and then
Yeah,
you went
that's
to the
early Spotify. That's definitely early
yeah, that's
Spotify.
what I'm saying. That's old, man.
But I think it's because I also had like an iPhone XR, I
Oh
think,
shit.
and then I ended up getting like an iPhone 12 or
Yeah,
something like that. So like it was so crazy though because I had the glitch SoundCloud and then I had to re-download SoundCloud and I lost it.
and then
And
it's
I was like,
over.
I was so mad because it was at the point where I could just click any. I didn't have SoundCloud Premium, but I could click any song on SoundCloud and never have any ads.
Yeah.
It was depressing.
What a time. What an era.
What, dude? I miss it. I miss it. It's like it's also just like I don't know. I think you could say this with the '90s too, but like all of our favorite artists, like we just don't like they either are dead or in jail or make shit music.
Yeah.
So we have like 5 artists from like our favorite era that still produce something I
Yeah.
want to listen to.
Yeah.
But
Crazy.
yeah, so that was the draft today. I think I'm gonna make it 1-1. I think I'm gonna give you the win. I think I'll give you the win.
We did our job.
Um,
We did our job.
yeah, I honestly like looking at my list. It's solid, but I gotta be objective because I don't want to I don't want to. I want to be objective. So like, if I win something, I can be like, I won. Like I know what I
Yeah.
won.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give. It's 1-1. I'll give you this one. Next week, what are we looking at on the show? We're looking at that Kevin Abstract album review.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Me another 20-minute tangent.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we'll probably have another fantasy draft segment. Maybe we start a new segment. I don't know. I'm excited. We got some good stuff. Thanks everybody for tuning in this week. If you decide to look at it or click on the video, we really appreciate it. You know, we're
Yep.
just we're just trying to do this every week for you and see if we can become a part of your week. You play this in the car, play this video in the background. If you're just hanging out, but we appreciate any support at all. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.